Okay, so I want to talk about what playoff teams there are going into the season and just where teams are at from the Western Conference and Eastern Conference. But let's start with the West because, well, I wanted to split this up so I don't take so much time and try to drag this out as long as I can. And I think I did a West version of this that was like 30 minutes long. So I'll try to make it faster than that. I definitely will make it faster than that. So let's get started. Mavericks, easily a championship contender. This team made the finals, and I know they got smoked, but they added two key pieces, and I think they upgraded instead of just sitting and saying, we made the finals, let's see if our guys develop. No, they keep pursuing to make the roster better. Josh Green, they swap him out for Quentin Grimes, and I know Quentin had a bad last half of last year, but he played in Detroit, and I'm going to give him a pass there. Najee Marshall, a younger version of Derrick Jones Jr. in terms of how he's going to play defense, and he stretches the floor better. He doesn't have the athleticism and cutting to the rim ability that Derrick has, but I think he offers better defense, younger, and is going to stretch the floor better, which is what Dallas wants out of him. I think Luka, as long as he stays healthy throughout throughout in the playoffs, I think Luka can be. Well, Luka is your guy. Luka is the guy. Like, let's not lie here. Luka showed the world and everybody that keeps doubting him year in year out. Yes, I am a top 3 player in basketball. Yes, I am coming for you. And all this talk about Victor, I think Victor's great. But Luka was that guy years ago, and Luka is here now. Nuggets. I think it's clear this team does not have the depth that they had at one point. Brown was their depth. Now he's a starter. So it's Jamal, Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic. Great starting lineup. Their issues last year, though, where they didn't have the depth, the guys that come off the bench, and Jokic was exhausted in those final games of the Minnesota series for a reason. They don't have anyone to come in for him. A Najee Marshall, or not Najee Marshall, sorry, a Peyton Watson and a Zeke Najee. That's the name I was thinking of. Russell Westbrook. These guys they're okay in this rotation. They don't have shooters off the bench that they really need. There's going to be a lot of questions, and this team desperately needs like a Bruce Brown back. Okay, Golden State, playing team. Steph, Kuminga, Wiggins, Pokushevsky, presumably right now. There's an ESPN article about who they're going to start at shooting guard, and Draymond. It's just not really a starting caliber team. Jackson Davis, he's a good backup for now, and he was a young kid that really came in last year and came to his own as a starter. So he'll probably start early in the year because they don't want to just do Draymond out at 5 for the whole year. That's just exhausting for Draymond, and Draymond isn't that player anymore that could just do that all the time. Then there's off the bench D'Anthony Melton, who has had reports of being really good with Steph, so that's exciting. And then who else? Buddy Hield. If you know about the Hield cycle, yeah, I think he'll be fine. And that's really it. I mean, Moses Moody. I've already heard reports that's not. That they're still trying to get an extension with him, but they're doing the talk of maybe we just don't do it. Kaminga, yeah, he's exciting, but I don't know. Like, this team is very questionable to me about being anything, about being confident about where they can be. I think Melton is an exciting piece next to Steph. I do. I think those reports definitely confirm that. But yeah, Kaminga took a step last year. I just don't really know where this team's gonna really go. Rockets. I think they're a playing team too. I think they actually make the play in this time around. They almost did last year. I think as long as Jalen Green can play efficient basketball next to Sengun and for a full season. I mean, he really struggled until that last month of the year. Like, it was bad. It was genuinely bad that Rockets fans were at a point where they were fine with giving him up with picks to get Mikal Bridges. At the end of the year, they didn't feel that same way, but it's for a reason they felt that. And it's because he struggled. He struggled bad. And Sengun took a leap last year, and I think he'll take a little bit more of a leap this year. I think Ben Thompson will have a better jump shot this year. Jabari Smith Jr., I mean, he is what he is. I mean, I think he'll be that 13 to 15 point player. It gives you efficient defense. I thought people thought he could be this all defensive player. Maybe he can be. That's going to average 22 points a game, can be a good shot creator, definitely a great spot up shooter. It's just he's so inconsistent. It makes me so angry because he's a number 3 overall pick that can go 5 games in a row, just 7 points. And I just wish he was better. I wish for him he was better because that archetype of player is so much fun to watch when they're good. And I think he's good. I just think He needs to be more consistent, and he needs to take another leap. Like, he desperately needs to take another leap. Clippers, I will give them the benefit of the doubt for right now and say play-in team. I know a lot of people are saying Harden's going to carry this team. Harden's going to be that guy again. Harden's going to turn back the clock. But, guys, Harden averaged 15 last year with the best spacing. He's probably – no, I wouldn't say – that's an overstatement because Houston teams had really great spacing. But he had a lot of guys right next to him, and he averaged like 15 and 10. He was a great playmaker, and I think he could still be that this year. With Zubac, that connection was there. Norman Powell, Terrence Mann. But you have these guys coming off the bench that just – you don't have the depth you once had. You have Kevin Porter Jr., who should not be in the league. He should not be playing basketball. Chris Dunn, ESPN has a depth chart, him as a backup shooting guard. Maybe I'm forgetting someone on this team, but – man, there's reasons why people are saying OKC, they're scared OKC can get the first pick from this team because Clippers still own multiple picks. Lakers, play-in team, and I'm going to put them above the Clippers because LeBron and AD. This team is the same team as last year. Like, your only addition is your head coach. And I think I'm excited for JJ Redick. I know all the narratives, why are we talking about the Lakers? The team is not that good. And I get it. I really do. Yeah, like ESPN or Bleacher Report, one or the other posted their starting lineup this year like it was like a big deal. But it was the same lineup as the last year and a half. D'Lo, Reeves, Braun and Rui, and AD. I think you don't have a backup quality center. Jackson Hayes is not a quality center. And you're hoping Jared Vanderbilt can be his former self at the best. And you were hoping that former self could take any step forward offensively. And he didn't. He hasn't. And that sucks. That sucks bad. For him, for the team. I feel bad because he's had his injury issues and he finally had a situation that really wanted him, that a fan base that really, everyone likes him, but a fan base that adored him, that he got to stay in, that he found a role in, that he could make a playoff run in. He got hurt, and now they're just like, he's another guy that just hasn't worked at the Lakers. Gabe Vincent, and Max Christie. Yeah, I mean, they're going to give you what they can give you. I really don't know. Vincent, we don't even know what he is anymore. He got paid and hasn't been that same player. It's a former Miami curse, and then a Lakers or a LeBron role player curse. Go be a role player that after a year of being with LeBron, a year after being a high quality player on another team, typically you're gonna fall off. And whether that's the pressure of being with LeBron or you just were really good with that other team and you haven't really figured it out with this team, I don't know. But he got hurt last year. I understand that. Jalen Hood-Schifino has looked awful in preseason. I don't want to be that guy that criticizes a kid, but man, that was rough. That has been a rough stretch for him. And I know Lakers fans dogged on him since the second he was drafted. It has not been well. Dalton Connect's a good first-round pick, and I think he can provide some quality minutes for this team regular season-wise. He is an older prospect, so he right out the jump can look better than some other guys because of, the higher floor. That's how it is with older prospects. And he looked good in preseason. It's just, this team has a clear ceiling. And, like, the Nuggets were toying with them last year. I don't think it's because Braun or AD is not enough. I really just think everyone outside of them. Like, D'Lo, it's clear. He's been the odd man out for over a season. And I think Redick is really trying to bring him in and not make him have that relationship like he had with Darvin. But we'll see. We'll see. I think JJ is a good addition. I think he's a good coach. I think he provides new philosophies. And, I mean, JJ has that attitude to him and has been around enough good coaches to have that in him to like build a real culture, to be like a tough coach, like a guy that demands something out of you. And I don't know how much Darvin really had that in him. Memphis. This is my first playoff confident team. I really am confident that Ja being back boosts this team up a lot. The energy, it'll be all around. And Edey's a good addition. And he's a good rookie. I think he's going to have a higher floor. I didn't love him at Purdue, but he showed in preseason he can play against starting caliber centers, and his footwork and his strength and his post moves are enough to produce a high scoring output around the rim. And you're going to force that attention there. I think it's going to be a little clunky with him and Ja because Ja cuts to the rim a lot, and Ja isn't the most efficient point guard. But, I mean, you're not playing Edey a lot his rookie year, I don't think. Jaren Jackson Jr. I mean, he'll go back. He'll have less of a demand in this role now that Ja's back, so he'll look better. I know there was a lot of criticism last year. And then there's Desmond Bain. No, you finally have Vince. You finally have a small forward you can trust. That's not like Dylan Brooks, who's gonna just jack up shots. Vince Williams is a good 3-and-D player, and I know he has his leg broken right now, but give it a few weeks and he'll be back. And I'm excited for this team. I really am. I know they don't have the depth they once had, but there's a lot to be excited about. Oh, and Marcus Smart's on this team. So yeah, Minnesota. So I'm gonna put them in playoff confident. You already see that because I'm just not confident they're a championship contender this year. I think they're waiting for another year. DiVincenzo is a great piece to have off the bench, a great piece. You give Dillingham time to develop. Naz Reid, he's going to take some of those cat minutes, and he already has a connection there with Rudy. But Julius Randle's not the floor spacer. I mean, he could have a 40% three-point shooting year like he did 3 years ago, and he's an all-NBA guy. But, I mean, you have – Jesus, sorry, that's my phone. You have, what? Him, an older Conley, who is probably the best floor spacer on this team, or Ant, who I think will take another leap, and then Jaden McDaniels, who you're praying can be the three-point shooter that he was 2 years ago, not last year, but 2 years ago, and then Rudy, who we know is not a floor spacer. This offense was 22 in the league last year, and they were great defensively, and they made the conference finals. But there's a reason they were 22 last year, and they're getting worse offensively. I'm not criticizing the front office because it's clear what their plan is, what they're saying long term. Ant is still young. Dillingham's the guy that replaced Conley in a year or two. And DiVincenzo's a great role player to have for right now. You're hoping Randall can opt out of the deal in a year, or Randall might work. Who knows? And then you're going to come back in 25 and say, all right, this CBA sort of screwed us. This new second apron sort of screwed us. We saved some money. We're a new ownership group. Let's see where Dillingham, Ant, McDaniels, and whoever else at that point, and with Rudy, if Rudy isn't too old yet, can take us. Let's see where they can take us. Pelicans. This is going to be my last play-in tier team. I do believe... All right, hold on. Let me do some reshuffling. There we are. I don't know if I have the Rockets number one in this. It's just I'm trying to like get a grasp of where I think these teams are in rankings wise, and it's all confusing for me right now. Pelicans. Let's just talk about the Pelicans real quick. DeJounte Murray, I think, will be good for this team. I know he's the fake defense, the inefficient offense, but he's a decent playmaker, and I think the only issue here is a lot of these guys need the ball in their hands. CJ, DeJounte, and Brandon. Zion, too. Like, this is a big deal for last year. We keep saying point Zion and allow Zion to be a playmaker more often. It's going to be interesting. This team doesn't have a proper center, and that is a big issue. I know they have the rookie, but you're asking a lot of him. But I do think the defense is still there, to be fair. Outside of the rim, you have the best defender in the world in Herb Jones. Trey Murphy the third is a very good defender. DeJounte is at least decent in moments, and is a high steals guy. I mean, he's going to get some steals. Ingram, I mean, how much has he bought in? And Ingram, my thing with Brandon Ingram is maybe like 4 years ago, we were saying, like, this kid's going to be the next KD. Or, I mean, we weren't saying, like, next top 10 player or top 15 player of all time, but that he could really be a top-tier guy in the league. And he's still an all-star caliber player a lot of the time, but he doesn't take three-point shots. His rim pressure is just not great, and his mid-range game is really what it is. Like, what people criticize KD for at 36 years old, where KD is right now, that's what Brandon Ingram is already at, like, 26, 27. He's not providing that much rim pressure. He's just a guy that is on the floor, taking a bunch of mid-ranges, and that's it. I think he's a quality player still. I think he's a great player still. How much has he bought in? He's not getting his contract yet, and what is their plan going forward? I still think this team is very talented. It's a deep of young guys that they trust, and I think that's enough to get them to the play-in. Just like last year, just like the previous few years, and they made the playoffs last year. So, OKC. Okay, it's very clear. I mean, everyone's having them as the top team in the West. They were a team last year that was the first seed, and they turned their biggest weakness in Josh Giddey to Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. And if you're not seeing how Giddey is in Chicago in the preseason, yeah, he is not doing great. So you turn that into a 3-and-D guy, one of the best 3-and-D guys in the league, who had his best three-point shooting year, I think. and can also provide a lot of cutting at the rim and athleticism that Giddey did not have. There's Hartenstein. I know he's out to start the year, but Hartenstein, great around the rim, is a good playmaker, really, really good defensively. I think he really fits well with this team. He'll really allow Chet to not be, bullied by a lot. Chet wasn't bullied. That's a bad way to phrase that. He'll make it easier for Chet to just be a guy that can help in the paint, a guy that can still be a good defender, and he'll allow a rebounding presence that Chet just desperately needed next to him. I think that's just what Chet needed, the help on the rebounding spot, because they didn't really have that. They started Jalen Williams at the power forward, J-Dub. J-Dub, too. You hope he takes another step. You hope that he can prove that he's the all-star guy next to Shea, and I think he can be. I'm really high on him. I know he wasn't great in the Maverick series, but give him time. I know he was an older prospect. I think he's like 22 already, but give him time. He's going into year 3. Give him time. I'm just gonna keep saying that over and over again. And then Shea was second for MVP last year, so I don't know what else to say about Shea. He's special, man, and he was really good in that Maverick series and went toe to toe with Luka. I don't think he's necessarily as good as Luka, but I think he's like right behind him. I think he's a top 5 player in the league for a reason. And if people are already saying he can make this 3-point jump, the sky's the limit, man. I think he's getting close. Phoenix. Wow. Why did you put Phoenix there? This team fell off at the end of last year. Not fell off. They got swept. They got dominated by Minnesota. And yeah, Cat was able to limit KD, and they just really got shut down. It was Booker, KD, and Booker struggled. But I think people view Booker differently this year. The defense is there, the playmaking improvement from last year, and I think now you have Trey Jones and Monte Morris, and they're not great point guards. Trey really, I know a lot of people were high on Trey 2 years ago, but Trey was not incredible in Washington last year whatsoever. But I think that's fine. I think you just believe in Trey and that he can be the playmaker for this team, because you're not asking for a big role out of him, and you're not putting him on a team full of guys that don't really want to win in Washington. And Beal, I mean, yeah, that must piss off a lot of Phoenix fans, how he was smiling at the end of last year. That wasn't great. I know Kenny Beecham was angry. I saw that. I forgot about that. Nurkic, Plumlee, fine center rotation. Oh my God, they're on the same team now after getting traded for each other like 6 years ago. That's a weird thought. Ryan Nunn, the rookie, that he's really showed flashes of floor spacing preseason, and that's exciting. He has good center presence, or good paint presence. Grayson Allen's coming off the bench now after having the best year of his career. Monte Morris, like I said. This team isn't bad. Oh, and Royce O'Neal. He's a backup for this team. This team has a good rotation. And on top of that, Budenholzer, if he is anything, is an incredible regular season head coach, offensively and especially defensively. He will ask you to be a lot more. All right, my first team of not there yet. I love this Portland team. You want to see a lot out of them this year. You want to look at how these young guys develop. You want to see if Scoot can be the guy that a lot of people counted out, or can be the guy that people thought he could be before counting him out. Guys, I'm serious. This is a serious take about rookies. Stop counting them out if they start the year bad. Let them be young, because he was young. I don't care. I know he needed to be in college and probably learn how to be certain things of the game that you're not learning in G League Ignite. Like, you see a lot of guys in G League Ignite need years in the NBA because they don't know basketball fully that you could get in college. But what I'm saying is, give him time, because he showed in the second half of last year he is a good player. I do not care. People were all in on Keontae George and Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller was not very good after All-Star break, and Keontae George was not very good after month 1 of the regular season last year. Give Scoot time, and I think I can bite my words in like 6 months, but I'm very excited to see just what he can be now. Ayton and Klingon, that's a good center rotation. Denny is a huge piece for this team. I thought he was going to get traded to a contender because he's like that PJ Washington or Aaron Gordon guy that just a high-quality forward on a bad team and then gets traded to a very good team and can provide immediately for a contender. But Portland said, we want him. We believe we can be there in a year or 2. Let's go get him. Shaedon Sharpe, I mean, he's shown a lot. He's shown a lot of flashes. Then there's Simmons. This team is confusing because there's 3 guards that are really good, and you could start all 3 of them. But then you got Jeremy Grant, you got Denny, you got Matisse Thybulle in the rotation. Actually, I don't think he played last year. There's a lot of guys in this team that you just want to see take another step forward, and that's exciting. Sacramento, I want to put them in playoff confident for now. I know what you're thinking. Why? Well, De'Aaron, Keon Ellis, Keegan Murray, Kevin Huerter. This team has some floor spacing that they didn't necessarily have last year. I mean, it's the same guys that they had last year, actually. And I think DeMar adds a different element. I think the playmaking's there. I know Sabonis, De'Aaron, and DeMar all need the ball in their hands, but all three of them are quality playmakers, and I think all three of them passing to each other. I think all three of them can make an efficient offense that is exciting. I know De'Aaron's like not signed his contract right now because he doesn't think they're a contender yet, but they also freed up some money to make another move. And whether that's LaVine or not, I don't know. Zach LaVine doesn't excite me to Sacramento because LaVine, if he's been anything the last 2 years, this guy that's been really inefficient, a guy that doesn't play any defense and outside of scoring is not giving you much. I wouldn't say really inefficient, but if there's anything that that a Bulls fan has said, and that by watching the games, is that Zach LaVine is just not giving you anything outside of scoring, and you need something more if you're Sacramento. The defense struggled the last 2 years, and I know Keon Ellis and Keegan Murray can be good defenders, but come on, I mean, you need more. San Antonio, not there yet. I think Victor's there. Don't get me wrong. I'm so high on Victor. He's coming for the league. Everyone's terrified. It is exciting to see that. The issue is everybody else. Chris Paul's 40. I think that connection will be good. Devin Vassell will be fine. Keldon Johnson's the odd man out with his team. And last year, if you watch those games, Keldon just did not look like he was fitting well with Wemby. He didn't look like he was enjoying it. And all those times Wemby wasn't getting passed to, well, Chris Paul's there to do that. Who else? Sochan. Sochan's interesting. I won't comment on that. And that's really it. This team just will have the same team from last year except Stephon Castle and Chris Paul. Stephon Castle's a project. You're hoping that he can be a quality starter in a few years. But yeah, I really wonder why this team traded another top 10 pick. I mean, I know they're collecting picks for the future. Maybe they're trying to trade for a star in a year or two. But that was interesting. Maybe they shouldn't view this draft class as very high as everybody else did. Trading a top 10 pick was interesting to see, though, for a pick that was, low in the draft class in a year or two? I don't know. Jazz. Okay. I think they're a year away from trying for play-in. It reminds everyone of that OKC rebuild. The OKC rebuild that now they're the championship contender, except they believe Lauri is their Shea. And they keep testing trading Lauri, but they haven't. And that's for a reason. Well, they can't trade him this year because his contract's weird. They can't trade him this year, so we'll see about that next summer. But this team, I think, is going to try tanking for one more season before pursuing anything. I know I said Keontae George was bad after month 1 of the regular season, but you want to see if Keontae George can be a good player in year 2. You want to give Isaiah Collier some time to be a backup point guard that can get into this rotation properly. There's Jordan Clarkson that's still on this team, surprisingly, even though they have all these guys now. Cody Williams, that is an exciting piece they got in the top 10, or not top 10, I think top 14. Filipowski being in this rotation now. Walker Kessler, he struggled in year 2. He was not the same player in year 2 that he was in year 1, but you're hoping that he can at least just come back and be more of an efficient player. And then there's John Collins, who'll be out the contract this year. And yeah, Taylor Hendricks. You're just adding guys to this rotation. You're seeing if someone can come out and be the star next to Lauri. And then I think they're going to try one more shot at tanking for Cooper Flag. So, yeah, that's my Western Conference. I know there's 5 teams in the play-in spot, and there's only 4 play-in spots, and then you got to put one of the playoff confident teams there. But that's how good I view the West right now. I think the West is pretty. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle for sure. I don't know if Dallas ends up being a top seed this year, because Luka regular season, Luka has had some injuries recently in the last year or two. And, it's hard replicating a team that makes the finals 2 years in a row. I'm still high on this team because I think Luka I think Luka is very good. I think bringing back this team and improving on it. They didn't do what they did in 21 and 22, where they just brought Christian Wood, and they were also in a bad spot after the Kristaps Porzingis trade. I think with money-wise, they just had all this money dedicated to Tim Hardaway Jr., and then there's the money dedicated to Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. That team was just not very good, and I think this team's different. I think there's Lively, who's going to improve in year 2. Daniel Gafford was a good addition last year. PJ Washington, he'll finally be acclimated in this offense. His offense just did not. As good as the Mavericks were, and as good as PJ was in that lineup a lot of the time, and as good as he was in the OKC series, every other time he didn't really feel like he was fully adjusted to the offense. Even though he was all bought in, it's how it is. Sorry, I'm rambling on about the Mavericks now. Yeah, so these are my teams. I'm excited for the NBA season. I'll catch you next.